Okay, welcome to the 2024 Trash Mouth Fantasy Football Podcast Show, week number 13 edition. We have a first time person, GM, joining the show this season, three-time champ, the Bengali Bombers.
How you doing, Dave? Thanks for having me on the podcast. Happy to join.
Okay, let's get right to it. Bengali Bombers, you scored 92 points versus the Widowmakers. A little revenge from 2 years ago when Will put up 122 points on you, even though you scored 95. So I'm sure this was a little bit of sweet revenge.
Yeah, I mean it's always a high scoring battle for some reason with Rowe. I mean, I think you're up and down the line. Picked up Jordan Love at the right time. Will put up a good fight. Um, Everybody's been performing on the Bombers, so can't wait to see what happens this week and beyond this week. Let's see.
All right, touchdown Teddy agrees. All right, Bengali Bombers, you extended your own league record to 14 years in a row with at least 1 week where you scored the most points. You got it done a little bit late this season, week 13, but you did it to extend your own league record. What do you think about that?
That's pretty sweet to hear, right? 14 years is a long time, and to do it consistently year after year, that's awesome to hear. And glad that it's one of those records that may be hard to beat, but I'll continue the streak next year, hopefully, and beyond. But it's just good to hear, that record is there right now.
All right. So let's get into the Bengali Bombers season. It's a interesting dynamic. You started 2-5 after 7 weeks, and you were averaging only 44.5 points per week. Now, over your last 6 games, you're 5-1, averaging almost 60 points a game, 59.8 points per week. What do you think about the turnaround the last 6 weeks to put you in a position going into week 14 to win the West Division? You're in first place for the first time all year.
Yeah, I think it's just credit goes to no panic. I had to make some adjustments. Picked up Puka Nakua, which was a great addition. Stashed away Alvin Kamara, although he was out the first 3 weeks. I drafted him. He's been paying dividends. And of course, players play. McCaffrey, Kittle, AJ Brown, Metcalf, who put up a big week this past week. It's not all about the quarterback. Of course, the quarterbacks do drive our league, but you need to have a surrounding cast. And I always had it. It's just, the chips fall where they do the first few weeks, and you just have to tweak it a little bit. And I think I've made the good adjustments by adding Jordan Love and Puka Nakua.
Okay, there you go. In season management, adjusting on the fly and having a little patience. All right, so to add on to your point, you're the only GM in the league to make the fewest either waiver wire moves or roster moves with 5. So it goes back to your concept of you drafted a team, you're confident in what you had, and sometimes you have to pull the trigger when it's necessary, right?
Yeah, I drafted Denver's defense, for example, and wasn't going well, so I picked up the Colts, and they've been contributing to the team effort. So, yeah, I think a lot of people lose patience, juggle things around when they take a weekly loss. I think you got to have just a good draft and a long-term strategy. You don't need to make panic moves. I think it has to be researched. It should be a move that contributes to the team, not hurt the team.
Okay, good advice from the three-time champ Bengali Bombers, Week 13 podcast show. Got to score the most points, get on this show. All right, we're moving on to Week 14. You are in control of your own destiny right now. You're leading the West Division. A victory versus the number one seed, six shooters, winner of the East Division. You wrap up the two seed no matter what happens, and you win the division outright. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Sal's number one for Widowmakers are number one for a reason. I mean, not Widowmakers. Six shooters are number one for a reason. He's got a good team. I'm sure he'll put up a good fight. He's locked in the number one seat, so maybe he'll fall asleep on Sunday. But it's going to be a good battle as always is with Sal and the six shooters. But looking forward to it. It's good to have destiny in your own hands, as you said. Let's put up and shut up. And I know Trevor Lawrence, that's going to hurt a little bit. But no panic. We'll adjust. Bombers will adjust this week and see what's best for the team, and we'll put up a fight and see where the chips fall.
All right. All right, this segment of the show, it's the last part of the show. Trash Mouth Fantasy Football Parting Shots. Bengali Bombers, anything you want to say to a Pacific GM? Call out the whole league. Just your thoughts in general. What are you feeling? What are you sensing around the league? There's a lot of trash talk going on now. The final week, final push to the playoffs. What's your parting shots?
Well, there are a lot of homer GMs. GMs that tend to draft from their favorite NFL team, and that could be a little bit fandom dangerous. I understand you're a fan, but that you can't do a job as a GM being a fan. And the waves are good when the teams are doing good, but you rely on one team too much and the players on that team, and if the team has a bad week, guess what? It's going to hurt when it counts. So my advice would be, don't draft based on your fandom as a GM. Draft what all GMs do, which is draft based on performers and what your need is. That's true GM. I can't imagine drafting players only for my favorite team, or at least most players from my favorite team. So, those homer GMs, good luck. But, I would take a different path. Because one bad week, you saw what happened to the Eagles last week. One bad week against a good team, and, you could technically win and out. You're out of the playoffs. So good luck to them. But, I'm just offering some advice to some of the GMs in the league.
Oh, there you go. A little words of wisdom from the three-time champ Bengali Bombers, looking to make the playoffs for the first time in a few years. Bombers, thanks again for joining us for the 14th consecutive season. At least 1 week, making the most points for the week, extending your record. So thanks for joining us. Good luck as you make your push to the playoffs and potentially win the Western Division title.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it and look forward to it.